Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So yesterday, the Republican majority House passed a bill which will allow us to continue paying off our bills over the next year. Now, this bill will have to pass through the Senate before it gets to President Joe Biden's desk to sign into law. But we're going to be going over what the Senate majority Democrats are saying about this bill and whether or not they plan to pass it, because if not, this could potentially impact Social Security payments. So we're going to be going over all of that in today's video. Now, before we dive into the main content, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm. And also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so according to Fox News, House passes McCarthy's debt ceiling bill by 2 votes. 4 Republicans vote against it. So the House Republicans on Wednesday delivered Speaker Kevin McCarthy the biggest win of his tenure, leading the chamber so far by passing his bill to raise the debt limit and slash spending, a bill that serves as the GOP's position on how to avoid a debt crisis in the coming weeks. The bill passed in a narrow 217 to 215 vote. Every Democrat voted against it, as expected, along with 4 Republicans: Andy Biggs of Arizona, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Ken Buck of Colorado, and Matt Gaetz of Florida. Republicans cast the vote as a win that puts them in the driver's seat in negotiations they hope can happen with President Biden in the coming weeks. Biden has refused to entertain anything other than a clean increase in the debt ceiling, while Republicans insist he should agree to some trimming in the federal budget as a condition of raising the government's borrowing limit. The Limit Save Grow Act aims to raise the debt limit by $1.5 trillion or through the end of March 2024, whichever benchmark is hit first. It also caps spending increases to 1% for the next decade. Meanwhile, in addition to the aforementioned cost-saving measures, it also caps discretionary spending at fiscal 2022 levels. The legislation faces an uphill battle in the Senate, however, where Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has criticized House Republicans for trying to pair spending cuts with raising the debt limit. Similarly, President Biden threatened to veto the bill if it comes to his desk, and on Wednesday refused again to negotiate spending cuts in conjunction with a debt limit increase. That position was backed up by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who accused Republicans on the House floor of presiding over exploding deficits and going down a dangerous path with their legislation. Now, according to the AP News, this is what the House Republican bill that passed yesterday would do. So first off, it would claw back COVID money that was assigned but not yet spent. So the bill would rescind all unobligated COVID relief money from 6 bills enacted from 2020 through 2022. The changes would reduce spending by about $30 billion over the next decade, according to the CBO. They would also be targeting the IRS, so they would rescind the $71 billion that Congress gave to the IRS to apparently upgrade its technology and boost hiring, which Republicans are saying could actually hurt the lower and middle class Americans by them getting audited more, which of course those people don't have the money to be hiring the best CPAs in the world to handle those audits. In addition to that, they're also going to be blocking the student loan relief that President Biden passed through executive order. So the Republican bill would repeal actions taken by President Biden to waive $10,000 to $20,000 in debt for nearly all borrowers who took out student loans. The bill would also prohibit the administration's effort to cut monthly payments in half for undergraduate loans. In addition to that, they would also be going after renewables, so Republicans are seeking to repeal most of the tax breaks the Democrats passed in party line votes last year as they sought to boost the production and consumption of clean energy. And also, one of the key elements of the GOP bill is expanded work requirements for recipients of federal cash and food assistance. So under current law, able-bodied adults under 50 and without dependents risk losing their food stamps or SNAP benefits if they don't spend 20 hours a week in work-related activities. The bill would apply these same requirements to those ages 50 to 55. In addition, the bill would apply work requirements to able-bodied adults without dependents and Medicaid, the federal state program that provides health insurance coverage for low-income Americans. Job training and performing community service count towards fulfilling the work requirement. And then, of course, the debt limit package also includes legislation the House passed earlier this year that aims to increase domestic production of oil, natural gas, and coal, and to ease permitting restrictions that delay pipelines, refineries, and other projects. They do this as the price of gas, once again, is about to eclipse $4, at least in my state, In your state, it could be a lot higher than that. Okay, so once again, this was a bill that passed yesterday in the House with only votes from Republicans. And they said in this article that Democrats are squarely against the bill. So more than likely, it is going to be dead on arrival in the Senate because Democrats have the majority in the Senate by 51 seats compared to the Republicans just having 49 seats. And Joe Biden said that even if it does pass in the Senate, he's going to veto the bill. So the bill is pretty much dead at this point in time. And Republicans are hoping that Joe Biden will at least negotiate with them now that they have the bill passed to the House. So we're going to have to see how everything unfolds here. And unfortunately, if they cannot get this bill passed, if they cannot raise the debt ceiling, it's going to have a lot of bad consequences. So recipients of Social Security and a lot of other Americans are going to be impacted by this in a pretty huge way. So we're going to be going over why that is. So according to CNBC, as lawmakers gear up for federal debt limit fight, here's what it could mean for Social Security. So as Republicans scramble to put together a plan to fix the nation's debt limit, experts are warning a failure to address the issue could have dire consequences for Americans' finances. Now again, Republicans passed the bill in the House at this point in time, so you can make a case that it's actually in the Democrats' court at this point in time. Republicans have agreed to raise the debt limit, but of course they have spending cuts with that, so the Democrats are going to make sure the bill does not pass in the Senate. So residents of the California Capitol could lose their jobs, she warned, as in Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Meanwhile, payments would go up on mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards. That would be for those who have variable interest rates. So a lot of people with mortgages actually have a fixed interest rate, so their payments would not be going up. Credit card interest rates would be going up, but as long as you don't carry an interest on your card, then you won't be paying interest, obviously. On top of that, it is unlikely that the federal government would be able to issue payments to millions of Americans, including our military families and seniors who rely on Social Security. So that would obviously be a pretty big problem for the 70+ million Americans who receive Social Security benefits. So the article goes on to say that a default on the U.S. debt would be unprecedented, as the country has paid all its bills on time since 1789. The extraordinary nature of such an event has called into question how the government would juggle payments, including Social Security benefit checks. The U.S. Department of the Treasury would likely prioritize the payment of Social Security benefit checks. Jason Fichtner, a former Social Security Administration executive and vice president and chief economist at the Bipartisan Policy Center, told CNBC.com in January. However, it is possible the Social Security Administration would delay payments to ensure it has enough cash on hand, he said. And if we look at a tweet yesterday by Brendan Peterson, he said, just out from Goldman Sachs, the Treasury Department reported more tax revenue than expected yesterday, pushing the debt limit's ex-date more squarely in July. So that is going to be our deadline at this point in time. If the Republicans and Democrats cannot raise the debt ceiling by, let's say, July or August, then it's very possible that we could default and no longer be able to pay all of our bills, which again, this means for people receiving Social Security benefits. These payments probably will still go out. It's not like you're just going to be cut off from receiving any of your benefits. You're definitely still going to receive your payments in full. The problem is here, again, there could be a delay in receiving your payments. And even if the delay is even 2 or 3 weeks, everyone expects these payments to be coming in on time. They're not expecting benefits to be delayed by 2 weeks. We have bills to pay. We cannot afford to have these payments roll in 2 or 3 weeks later. We might have rent due on the 1st. We might have our mortgage payments due on the 1st. We had to pay for groceries. We had to pay for other bills. So if these benefits are arriving even 2 or 3 weeks late, quite frankly, that would just be unacceptable. So hopefully Republicans and Democrats can get together, come to some sort of an agreement, and raise the debt ceiling. Otherwise, again, that could potentially have very bad effects for a lot of Americans, including those receiving Social Security. But that's all the news that I have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed, even though it may not be the best news. Again, if you enjoyed the content in today's video, I would appreciate if you give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.